thank you for joining the Democratic Party of New Mexico for our monthly video newsletter, The Blue Opiñon. I am so thrilled that we're joined by this month's guest, the man in charge of the Democratic National Committee himself, Mr. Jaime Harrison. Since becoming chair of the DNC in early 2021, Chair Harrison has been working tirelessly with state parties just like ours to make sure that we have the infrastructure and resources we need to keep winning elections up and down the ballot. And so I'm honored to hear from the chairman and to get an inside look at his work at the DNC and hear his outlook for the coming elections. So Chair Harrison, thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Madam Chair. It is great to see you. It is great to be with all of the New Mexico Democrats. Thank you all for all the hard work and the efforts you put in each and every year to make sure you elect Democrats up and down the ballot.
Well, thank you for those kind words. And you know, Chair, I've learned a thing or two from you after stepping into this role a couple of years ago myself. And one of the things that I'm completely struck by the hard work and dedication of our chairs across the country and at the national level. And so my first question for you is, what motivated you to pursue such a critically important, though sometimes behind the scenes role as DNC chairman?
Well, I've been doing politics in some fashion or form since I was 16. My very first campaign was a Clinton-Gore campaign, and I was a sophomore in high school. Then went on to intern in the offices of my senator, Fred Hollings, and Congressman Jim Clyburn. Then I became a staffer on the Hill, where I ran the whip operation for House Democrats, and I became a vice chair of the South Carolina Democratic Party, then the state party chair there. Then I ran for the DNC in 16 and didn't win, but became the associate chair of the DNC. And the first and only time that I've been a front person was when I was a candidate for the United States Senate running against Lindsey Graham. So most of my political career, I've played that role of behind the scenes, working in order to strengthen the operation of our Democratic Party and to support the great candidates that we have in our party. I'm actually fairly comfortable in that role. I'm fine being in front of the camera too and being the front person, but in the end of the day, our party and our candidates in our party are only as strong as the party itself, the infrastructure that supports those candidates, the infrastructure that allows us to get our message out, that allows us to reach out to voters. And so that's really, really important. And, it's fine. Every now and then you'll get an amazing candidate that just wows you, that's a once in a generation type candidate. But why can't we just have a party that is strong enough that you can elect a policy wonk, you can elect somebody who's just has so much charisma that it's just like overflowing, or you can support and get elected somebody who's a good old backslapper, right? But in the end of the day, they're all Democrats who believe in making sure that America is affordable and accessible for all of our people, and that the American dream is available for all of our people. And so that's my motivation. That's my goal, particularly now when our democracy and our freedoms are on the ballot. So it's about making sure that the infrastructure is strong so that we can win and that we can protect the democracy and freedom for all Americans.
Boy, that really gets to the heart of the work we do as chairs, both at the state and national level. It's all well and good to be a show pony once in a while.
One of the things that I learned from Jim Clyburn when I first got on the Hill, he said, Jaime, you will find out very quickly on the Hill. They're show horses and they're workhorses. Always be a workhorse.
I love that. And we're lucky here in New Mexico because we've got a lot of folks willing to roll up their sleeves, put in the time, the effort, the energy to get the job done. So heading into 2024, Democrats have to be on our A game.
Yeah.
And so what is at stake for our country in the coming election? And why is it so important for Democrats to mobilize like never before as we head into the new year?
Well, Madam Chair, everything is at stake in 2024. Every single thing. There's a reason why the United States has been the beacon of light for so many folks in other countries. Why folks flee despots and so many others to come to the shores of the United States, and it's been that way for generations. It is because of the freedoms that we enjoy in this country and because of the democracy that allows those freedoms to be here. And so right now that is at stake. You have a Republican Party like we have never seen before, one that is weaponizing fear, one that is weaponizing division. If you enjoy democracy, if you enjoy personal autonomy and freedom, then that means you need to get off your butt and make sure you are registered to vote, then make sure that you get your friends and your family members, make sure that they are registered, make sure that you reach out to other people. You have to be just as vigilant, if not more, than those who are hell-bent on taking those rights and freedoms away.
We've seen it from every level of government when the GOP is in charge, the House Republican Speaker debacle to extreme Supreme Court decisions. We're seeing the results of the GOP's inability to govern, and we're seeing their extremism on full display. And so, my next question for you, Mr. Chair, we can see there are major differences between Democratic leadership on the one hand and Republican. I don't even know that we can call it leadership, but when the GOP takes over, we see something radically different. So, in your opinion, what does Democratic leadership mean for everyday Americans, and how different is that from what we see and experience when the GOP is at the helm?
The contrast between hope versus fear, a contrast between progress versus chaos. This is the biggest do nothing Congress in the history of do nothing Congress for this nation ever. And so that shows you the contrast. They are a party who believes that our better days are behind us. We are a party who believes that our better days are ahead of us. We are the party of hope. They are the party of fear. And so that contrast is so clear. This year, if it hadn't been clear, it's really clear right now.
Absolutely. And looking ahead, we're the party of the future. And what's
Yes.
on our horizon, my friend? We've got the national convention coming up because that is the first step to get the job done and to deliver for President Joe Biden. So, Mr. Chair, I know I'm looking forward to the DNC convention coming up next year in Chicago. What can Democrats expect to see from the convention?
Well, again, we are the party of hope. And so on that stage in the United Center, we are going to show the nation that the power of our unity, the power of our movement, the power of hope to keep this nation moving forward is strong, and it's strong in the Democratic Party. This will be the first opportunity, really, when you think about President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. They didn't get a traditional convention the last time around. They didn't get a series of inaugural events, and so this will really be the first time that the world, not only the nation but the world, get to see them making their case for why what we have been able to do and achieve and accomplish, and why they deserve 4 more years to finish the job. So I am really, really looking forward to it. And conventions are very powerful. The reason why I'm in politics is because the seed was planted at the 1988 convention. I was 12 years old in South Carolina, forced to watch a convention that I had no idea about because my grandfather, in my grandfather's house, you watch what he watched. And I watched Jesse Jackson get on that debate stage in Atlanta, and he talked to young people and talked to young people about hope and the power to transform this nation. And that inspired me. So when we go to Chicago, folks around the world, in this country and around the world, particularly young people, are going to hear people talk about hope and how they have the power, because young people are the largest voting demographic in this nation, that they have the power to transform this nation. So I'm excited about the prospects. I'm excited about having the president and the vice president tell their story. I'm excited about folks to see the diversity of the Democratic Party on that stage. It's going to be a lot of fun. but we are also going to demonstrate once again why the Democrats need 4 more years to finish the job for the American people.
Well, I know I'm looking forward to it, sir. I cannot wait to see the unity of this incredibly diverse Democratic Party on display for the whole world to see. So,
Yes.
one last question for you, sir, and that is this. We see, the names up in lights and we get the Democratic superstars out for the convention. But I want to shift the focus here just for a minute to talk about what everyday Democrats can do to get involved at the grassroots level, whether signing up to volunteer or even donating to the Democratic Party or candidates in their area. So, what words of encouragement do you have for my friend down the block, for our New Mexico Democrats in every corner of this great state of ours? The floor is yours, sir. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Well, the engine of the Democratic Party are the volunteers that make up the Democratic Party. And that includes not only just the grassroots volunteers there, but then many of our state party officers and county party chairs and precinct coordinators and precinct leaders. All of those folks make up the heart and soul of the Democratic Party. And so, look, whether you spend a few hours knocking on doors or chipping in $5 here or $2 there, whatever you can, every little bit matters. Every little bit really contributes to us winning our races, not just to win the races, but to protect democracy, to be the voice for those who can't advocate for themselves. It is so important. And so what I tell folks, I know that, you read these polls and folks, they're trashy. The only poll that really matters is the poll that happens on election day. And the pundits have counted us out time and time again. But I have a good friend who says when they count us out, you show them that they don't know how to count. And so that is what we have been doing. They counted us out in 2020, but because of the volunteers of this party, because of the heart and soul of this party, we were able to put more votes on the board for a presidential candidate than in anyone in history. 80 million of us went out and voted for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. They counted us out in the midterms. They said this big red wave was coming. But you know what was happening? On the ground, in our states, in our communities, we were knocking on doors, making phone calls, sending in $1 or $2 here and there, and we were well prepared. We built an infrastructure to turn those red waves into red tears. And so this is the thing that I would want to leave our viewers with, Madam Chair. In South Carolina, we have a motto that I believe is just so beautiful. It is, while I breathe, I hope. While I breathe, I hope. And remember, I said hope is the fuel and the power of the Democratic Party. Well, folks, in my 47 years of life, I know that hope without action is never realized. It is never realized. It's great to have faith, but if you don't work, then it's not realized either. So over the next few weeks, the next few months, as we move closer to the November election, this is what I want us to adopt as our motto for the Democratic Party. While I breathe, I vote, because that is how we make hope real for so many across this nation and across the globe. Let's register, let's mobilize, let's educate, let's get people to the polls. And once they get to the polls, let's make sure we protect their votes, because if we do all of those things, we will win in 2024.
You heard it straight from the top from our incredible DNC chairman, Jaime Harrison. And my friends, I can tell you here in New Mexico, winning is just the beginning. And it takes all of us to win these elections. And I have faith in New Mexico Democrats, sir, that we will continue to deliver for President Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, our incredible vice president. And we will continue to get the job done right here at home, because folks like New Mexico Democrats in every corner of this state are not going to wring their hands. We're going to roll up our sleeves. We're going to use those hands to knock on doors, dial on the phone, and make sure we're getting out the vote. So, Mr. Chair, thank you so much for being here with us this afternoon. And I can't wait to see you at the DNC convention.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate it. And thank you, New Mexico Democrats.